Imagine waking up every morning thinking you're free to work, free to choose, free to live the life you want. But what if I told you that freedom is an illusion, that the system you live in was designed with invisible walls you can never escape? Every bill you pay, every loan you take, every hour you spend working is part of a carefully constructed trap, a web so complex that most people never even realize they're caught. You hustle, you grind, you follow the rules, yet somehow the rich keep getting richer and the ordinary person keeps falling behind. The truth is, this isn't a coincidence. This system was designed, piece by piece, to ensure that you remain dependent, distracted, and constantly chasing after a version of success that always stays just out of reach. You're told to study hard, work hard, and save money, but each step only keeps you in the cycle, feeding the very machine that benefits from your struggle. Look around: billboards, advertisements, social media feeds. They're not just selling products. They're selling conformity, a way to keep you focused on the wrong things, while the real rules of the game remain hidden. And the more you try to play by these rules, the more the system adapts, ensuring that true freedom remains impossible for most. This is not just about money, it's about control. The system reaches into your choices, your habits, your very mindset, shaping your reality in ways you might never notice, and unless you become aware, you are destined to remain a part of it. Today, we're going to uncover exactly how this system works, the invisible forces keeping you trapped, and why understanding it is the first step toward breaking free. By the end of this journey, you'll see the world differently. You'll see the rules behind the illusion, the mechanisms keeping you in place, and the possibilities that exist once you start thinking beyond them. What follows is not just a story about money or work, it's a story about the invisible chains that surround every one of us, and the shocking truth that the system you live in was designed so carefully, so intentionally, that escaping it seems almost impossible, until now. From the moment we enter adulthood, the system begins quietly whispering in our ears, "You need this. You can't do without it." That whisper turns into a push when we're handed student loans, credit cards, and mortgages, the very tools that promise opportunity but quietly bind us in chains. You're told that education will give you freedom, that a home is security, that credit is convenience, but all of it comes with a price that compounds, year after year, silently eroding your choices. Millions of people spend decades repaying debts that seem to grow faster than their earnings. Even when you try to get ahead, the interest piles up, the minimum payments never seem to shrink, and suddenly you realize that no matter how hard you work, the system has already taken more than it gave. Banks and corporations aren't just institutions, they are architects of dependence, designing financial products to ensure that most people remain consumers, not creators, earners, or investors. The illusion is seductive: small monthly payments, the comfort of affording what you desire, but underneath lies a hidden truth. Debt is control. It keeps people busy, stressed, and distracted, constantly focused on survival instead of growth. And while you're trapped, those at the top manipulate interest rates, policies, and incentives to ensure that their wealth grows while your options shrink. What most don't see is that debt isn't just about money, it's about time, energy, and freedom being siphoned off without you noticing. By the time the average person realizes how deep the trap goes, their prime years are already spent repaying a system they believed would serve them. Understanding the debt trap is the first step in seeing the invisible chains, recognizing that every necessity offered may be a link in a cage, and questioning whether following the path everyone says is safe is actually safe at all. Even when you think you're saving, the system quietly works against you. Inflation is the silent redditor, steadily eroding the value of every dollar you earn, every savings account you trust, and every plan you make. Prices rise, wages stagnate, and suddenly the cost of living climbs faster than your income. Groceries, rent, healthcare, fuel, everything seems to cost more, yet the same advice persists: work harder, save more. But saving money in a system that inflates relentlessly is like pouring water into a bucket with a hole at the bottom. Your effort never seems to translate into security. Governments and central banks control the money supply, interest rates, and policies that keep inflation within ranges designed to benefit the wealthy and powerful. For them, money held as assets, property, and investments grows, while cash in your pocket loses weight every year. People struggle, thinking their paychecks are enough, while the invisible force of inflation diminishes their purchasing power without them even noticing. The tragedy is that the system masks its intent. Inflation is subtle, gradual, almost invisible. You don't feel the bite all at once, but over decades the impact is enormous. A lifestyle that once seemed attainable slips further away, forcing longer working hours, extra jobs, and constant financial stress. Meanwhile, those who understand the system leverage it to acquire assets, hedge against inflation, and convert their money into forms that grow while the masses shrink in real wealth. It's not just about prices, it's about control, manipulation, and ensuring that ordinary people stay trapped in the cycle of earning, spending, and chasing a moving target that can never quite be caught. Recognizing inflation's silent grip is the second key to seeing the system for what it is: a machine designed to ensure dependence, fear, and continual striving. From an early age, society tells you that knowledge is power, that education is the key to success, and that skills are your ticket to freedom. But the reality is far more complicated. Education has become a high-stakes system designed to create dependence rather than empowerment. Universities charge tens of thousands, sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars, for degrees that may not guarantee the career or income they promise. Students graduate burdened by loans, stepping into a workforce that often pays less than expected, forcing them to spend decades just repaying the cost of their own learning. The system sells hope disguised as necessity. Without a degree, you're told, you can't succeed. Without credentials, you can't compete. But the real purpose isn't education, it's compliance. By keeping people in debt and tying opportunity to costly qualifications, the system channels ambition into predetermined paths, discouraging entrepreneurship, critical thinking, and true independence. Skills are often outdated by the time they're taught, leaving graduates ill-prepared for a world that moves faster than their education. Meanwhile, those who designed the system profit from tuition, testing, and credentialing, ensuring that knowledge remains a commodity instead of a universal right. The trap is subtle. The more you invest in the system, the more dependent you become, believing that freedom lies just a degree, certificate, or course away. In truth, the cycle repeats itself endlessly. By understanding the education trap, you begin to see how structured incentives steer human behavior, how ambition is harvested, and how a system can appear benevolent while keeping people tethered to paths that serve others more than themselves. It's a cage disguised as opportunity, a mechanism so ingrained that most never question its fairness until they step back and see how much of their life has been dictated by someone else's design. While debt, inflation, and education bind people overtly, the next trap is subtler. Your attention. From the moment you wake, society floods your mind with distractions, desires, and messages carefully engineered to keep you focused on consumption instead of reflection. Social media, endless advertisements, entertainment, and notifications condition your brain to crave, compare, and consume. You're told to keep up with trends, gadgets, experiences, and lifestyles you may not even need, all while subtly reinforcing the illusion that happiness is purchased, attention is earned, and self-worth is tied to material accumulation. Every swipe, click, and like is a small surrender, a trade of your time and focus for products and profit. Corporations and media networks engineer these systems with precision, analyzing human behavior, attention spans, and psychological triggers to ensure you remain engaged, distracted, and addicted. This is not mere marketing, it's behavioral design, a carefully orchestrated flow that makes people unaware of how much of their mental energy is siphoned off for profit. The trap is so effective because it feels natural, enjoyable, even voluntary. Yet while attention is spent chasing desires, critical thinking, self-improvement, and meaningful action are neglected. Every moment consumed by distraction is a moment lost to the system. Awareness of the attention trap is crucial, because breaking it requires deliberate focus, choosing where to direct your time, questioning what is truly necessary, and reclaiming control over what occupies your mind. It's a silent chain, invisible but powerful, keeping billions running in circles, paying, consuming, scrolling, and dreaming, all while their freedom slips quietly away. Beneath debt, inflation, education, and distraction lies the foundation of the system itself, the invisible rules set by those in power. These are the structures that determine who succeeds, who struggles, and who remains trapped. Central banks control currency, interest rates, and economic policies. Corporations, governments, and elites operate in networks that remain largely hidden from public view, leveraging influence, policy, and information to maintain advantage. Most people assume life is random, merit-based, or fair, but the reality is carefully orchestrated. Wealth, opportunity, and power are concentrated, while ordinary individuals are nudged toward predictable patterns of work, spending, and compliance. The rules are subtle. Tax laws, regulations, asset ownership, credit systems, and market manipulations all ensure that the powerful grow stronger while the masses remain in cycles of dependence. Education, debt, inflation, media, all of it feeds into this overarching architecture. Breaking free requires understanding these rules, seeing the patterns, and realizing that the system's fairness is an illusion. Awareness is the first act of liberation, because once you understand the invisible rules, you can begin to play the game differently, make choices consciously, and reclaim autonomy. It's a hidden architecture of control that shapes reality itself, and recognizing it is the final key to stepping outside the cage. The system is vast, sophisticated, and relentless, but the moment you see the design, you glimpse the possibility of navigating it on your own terms, instead of letting it navigate you. Freedom begins with knowledge, and knowledge begins with seeing what was once invisible. As we reach the end of this journey, it's time to step back and look at the bigger picture. Every day, most people move through life believing they are free, yet the system surrounds them on every side, shaping their choices, stealing their time, and quietly controlling their opportunities. Debt, inflation, expensive education, endless distractions, invisible rules. These aren't random challenges. They are designed, intentional, and interwoven to keep the majority dependent and distracted while a small elite grows stronger. But awareness changes everything. Understanding how the system works, seeing the traps for what they really are, is the first step toward reclaiming control. You may not escape overnight, and the path will never be easy. But even small shifts in knowledge, habits, and perspective can break pieces of the chains that bind you. Question the rules you've been told to follow. Question the so-called necessities. Question where your attention goes and how your money, time, and energy are spent. The power of freedom doesn't lie in luck or brute force. It lies in understanding the structure, playing strategically, and making conscious choices instead of following a script written by someone else. Today, you've seen the invisible forces shaping your life, and now it's your choice to continue unconsciously within the system, or to begin stepping outside, carving your own path, and claiming the freedom that's always been just out of reach. The system may be designed to trap, but knowledge is the key that opens the door. It's not too late to wake up, to question, to resist, and to start building a life on your own terms. The chains are visible once you know where to look, and the first step toward true freedom is simply seeing them.